Hey, Cosmic Witches, and welcome back to the Divine Gossip Girls podcast. Thank you for choosing to tune into today's episode and join us for another cosmic conversation. Reminder before we dive into today's episode that we have a beautiful new Instagram account with us three. It's called therituel.co. It's going to be linked below. We're going to be doing lives every month with workshops and just posting things throughout the week around, spirituality, different rituals you can do that support you in integrating connection to your spirit, to the universe throughout your daily lives and making spirituality tangible, practical, and fun. So please follow us on there. And yeah, today's episode, I'm bringing to the tea table a little conversation of hyping ourselves the fuck up, because what I've noticed is honestly throughout this year, we've really kind of all been through a few loops, and it's been a roller coaster of ups and downs. And a lot of times we're really good at fixating on the negative and the things that haven't been working out or haven't been, going well, or we think that aren't in our favor. But the truth of it is that there's a lot of incredible things that are going on, and I'm proud of us for so many things. And so I want this to be a podcast of celebration. We're going to bring to you guys some wins and ask you to as well reflect and get into that energy of celebration, because the year is coming to a close. So let's reflect, let's celebrate, and let's talk about some highlights of 2024. So let's dive on in.
Hey, Cosmic Witches! Divine Gossip Girls here, your one and only source into the spiritual happenings of the cosmos.
Ever wonder what this month's energy will have in store for you? What the planets and stars are even up to? Or if the universe can just help you catch a break already?
Well, lucky you, because we have all the spiritual secrets to tell. Get ready to sip on your weekly dose of divine tea. All right, so I guess I will go first. So I feel like 2024, when I reflect back on it, this is like something that really came to me the other day. But I feel like this year shoved us into a cocoon, whether or not we wanted to. It was like, we were as the caterpillar. We've learned a lot over the past few years, but this year was like, get in the fucking cocoon. It's time for you to grow some bigger, stronger wings. And at some point,
I thought you were going to say balls.
Oh, God.
Why? What butterflies are you looking at, Sophie?
What?
Scottish. Remember? I'm Scottish.
Some of us
Scottish butterflies have balls. Remember, I'm Scottish. What butterflies are you looking at?
I'm kidding.
You're Scottish, Maggie?
It's just whenever people say grow some, they say grow some balls.
Okay, this year, you're growing balls or wings, we were shoved into a cocoon to grow them. And at some point, we were shoved out of the cocoon, full wings, set of balls, and we were ready to conquer whatever is coming our way. So, in conclusion, this is all to say this metaphor has taken a turn. It was supposed to be like poetic, and then...
Sorry.
So what have you grown this year? Let us know in your stories.
So, what have you grown? Have you grown wings? Have you grown...
I don't think I've grown wings. I'll put it like that.
Well, here's the thing. This is what I see. A lot of us do not see it yet, because we, it's like there's this moment before, like after the butterfly comes out of the cocoon, it doesn't just start flying right away. It has a period of like the wings have to dry off.
I'm just thinking about the ways that I've grown balls this year.
Well, that's what I was thinking about too, because I was like, I don't think I've like by any means flown. If I've been flying, it's been like a real rough sail. I think that I've grown. Like, this like idea of like, yeah, exactly, because like I persevered a lot, and I feel like I've done a lot of things. Like I figured out what I want creatively a little bit. Like I've been trying new things. I've been trying to stick more with a schedule, failing sometimes, but like that's okay, but mostly failing because like stuff has gone wrong, but I've like persevered through it. Like there's so much that I could have been like, I just give up. I'm just not going to do like YouTube anymore. I'm not going to do my podcast. I'm not going to do all these things, but I've just sort of like persevered through it and like shown up anyways. In the past couple of months, I think I've grown into structure. So I don't think I'm like flying by any means. That's why I was like, I don't think I've grown wings, but I do think
I think
that
you
I've sort of
have.
like
I think you have
grown
grown some
this
wings.
different confidence as well.
I
Because I
think
don't
you're
necessarily feel
preparing
like
to take flight. You have to have
yeah.
foundations before you fly, right? So I feel like this year
The
showed you that
propellers are going. You're getting ready to take
Sophie
off.
is in some other energy right now. I do feel like that's like something that I would like for all of us to recognize that we have grown wings this year. Maybe we're not like taking off in the flight, but everything that we have moved through has allowed us to recognize our power. It has allowed us to recognize that like we can do hard things, that we've got our backs, that we can do this. And I feel like we've been put through a lot of, a lot of things that have kind of made us develop a little bit stronger, like resilience or perseverance, or like helped us to show up even in the face of fear, and work through it. And so I feel like for me, something that I really want to celebrate this year is allowing myself through all the challenges to continue to like show up for myself and continue to choose what's like best for me, even though like there's been so many times where I've fallen back and I've just wanted to stay there, or I'm like, oh my God, I guess this just means I have to throw away my business and like go work in a retail store, which that would never happen, you guys. I know I would die.
Quite physically. I had this conversation
No,
with
I
my
think,
mom.
yeah.
I'm like, I have put a lot of pressure on myself to succeed, but that's also because I'm ill and I fear that my body cannot handle a retail job.
No, I literally don't. And I think if I was like in a 9 to 5, I actually think I would get some sort of disease and die because it's just like not how my energy functions.
You're like, not to be traumatic, but I think it would actually be the cause of my undoing.
I actually do. This is supposed to keep this on a positive note here, but in conclusion, I am celebrating myself for choosing to show up, I literally wrote down in the summertime, you guys, this is like when I was kind of coming out of my like hermit mode. But I wrote down on a piece of paper that number one, I wanted to travel with my boyfriend and like focus on building like a strong relationship with him. And number two, I wanted to build a program. And number three, I wanted to go travel again. And I have done all those three things. I went to visit Maggie with my boyfriend, and I created my first program ever, which
you launched when you were traveling.
Wait.
With your boyfriend.
Yeah, which I launched when I was in Canada.
You actually technically launched it the day he got there.
Yeah. Oh, that's so crazy. And another thing I'm celebrating, oh my God, I almost forgot about this. Literally, for years, one of my biggest dreams was to lead groups of women in person circles. At the Crystal Shop, my past 2 circles have been sold out. I've had over 22 women in these powerful circles, and my boyfriend, of course, so plus him. But that is like a huge thing for me. And it just like every single time that I get to do that or I get to lead any space, I just cry because I'm like, holy shit. We're here. Like your mind wants to tell you all the reasons why you aren't there yet, why you haven't succeeded enough, why you shouldn't celebrate yourself yet. But the truth is, like, if you reflect on it, you've probably accomplished something that younger you was dreaming about. And that is huge. Like it doesn't like maybe the timeline looks a little bit different than you had once originally thought, but your expectations, I feel like a lot of our expectations are getting in the way of us arriving in the present and being fucking proud of ourselves. And so I would like to know from both of you, what is something that you are like, wow, holy shit, I actually did that? Because I can think of multiple for both of you, because like I feel like you can always see better from an outside perspective, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm gonna grow a set of balls, and
is that like okay to say anymore? You know how like people okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay.
Just we all can now.
Yeah. Now we all can.
Is this like, do you guys understand it? Is this a Scottish thing?
No, it's a saying everywhere.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. What I was going to say is grow set of balls and declare the things that I'm celebrating, or one thing I'm celebrating, because as you were talking, maybe it's just the space that I'm in right now, and obviously we've just entered November and I'm just like, oh, I'm not where I wanted to be. Like, what the fuck, right? And the first thing that came through, like, especially for someone like I am a mentor that leads with self-celebration, ever since becoming a mentor and a coach, like the very first thing I get people to do is share something that they're celebrating, share something that they're grateful for. And it's just, it's been a practice and a method I've always led with. But right now, with where I'm at, I'm actually kind of struggling to see the celebrations in this past year. But one thing that did come through, two things that came through, is the first thing was that I've attracted and really stepped into the somatic world this past year, right? It wasn't, obviously, it's just like something that I naturally and intuitively was starting to step into, but just like didn't have the I guess the people and the resources and the spaces to really understand it, embody it, And this past year, I've attracted the coaches and the opportunities and to really lean into that world and to really start becoming a practitioner in that field. So that's been huge for me this past year. And something else that I'm really celebrating is doing live Instagram channels, tap-ins and practices, which is a big, big thing for me this past year. Okay, Sophie. Also this last year, I've really started to tap into my channeling gifts. That is something
You weren't doing that at all last year.
I said she's always been doing it. She just claimed it this year.
Exactly. Like, I would say like maybe you started it a little bit last year. I think you literally just started opening your like channel tapping sessions that you do, like the one-off sessions with people.
Yeah.
It was like in December last year.
I was
when you
remember.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And so realistically, like, yeah, you did that last year, but you really just started
to tap
this year, like,
or
claiming...
even just like trust in it, It was because obviously I launched my channel tap-ins, but at the same time, like I was still trying to pre-control them and pre-plan them and know, okay, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? How is it going to go? Blah, 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 like really being in control and the logic and the gripping of it all. And it wasn't until the beginning of this year when I held a co-hosted challenge with another practitioner, and we both together challenged each other to really tap into these channeling gifts. And that's been the kind of like first domino of really leaning into being like, okay, like, can I start to really unlock this and start to trust in myself? And it always comes back to like your trust in yourself. So that's another thing.
Sophie, I was just going to say that this year, like, I also feel like we should go around and say something we've seen in all of each other.
Yes.
But Sophie, like, something I've seen in you is your trust in yourself has skyrocketed. Like, because like you've always been really connected to, seeing signs and like, but I think this is the year that you realize that it all has come from within, like the signs, the synchronicities, like the support. It's all been a product of you. It's all been a reflection of you. It's all been like, so I feel like it's just like, instead of that out in approach, this is the first year that you've went in to see it come out. And I think like you've just activated a whole nother level of your power. And I'm so excited now that you've built this foundation to like see where you go. Cause I really, truly think
I want to scream because
with joy, hopefully.
I think the trust thing, like that's what I would say too, but like almost in a different sense. Like I think you've trusted like, yes, yourself, and like you're going to get yourself to where you want to be no matter what, but also like this trust that like it's okay if things don't go exactly to plan, and like it's okay if you're, like you've said before, like you're not where exactly you expected you would be. I feel like before you used to feel a lot more imposter syndrome around it, and you used to like question yourself, and you would like see failure over the proof of success, even when your proof of success was far outweighing your proof of failure, if that makes sense.
I've seen that
Yeah, like,
too. It's like a
yeah, like
shift. I'm like, whoa.
at the beginning of the year, you would always say like, I'm so afraid no one's going to show up. I'm so afraid no one's going to show up to my portal lives. I'm so afraid no one's going to show up. And it was like every single month you'd have plenty of people. Like I'd show up and there'd be like 6 other people in there. And I'd be like, look, you had nothing to worry about. And then it would be like one time out of 8, only one person showed up or only 2 people showed up. And even then, still it's not no one. But I remember that one time where it was like just 1 or 2 people showed up and you were like, oh, like, see, this is what I'm always afraid of. And like, look, now it's happened, right? And I think I like literally said to you, I was like, Sophie, you've had your portal open for a year and this is the first time that has happened. Like, you can't let this one perceived failure eclipse all of those successes. But I feel like that's, just because of what you had been through over the past couple of years, like that fear was in the driver's seat. And now, like, you've said you've done things that have been greatly successful. And I think this is the thing in business. You do things that are greatly successful, and then some things just flop because people don't hear about them, or it just, that one just wasn't it that one time. And it's like, oh, well, let's just keep trucking. Because like sometimes even the biggest brands can do something and they're like, that's not what we wanted it to be. Yeah, exactly. And what I saw when that happened to you, you're like, yeah, I could have just like stopped it and like not gone through with it. But you're like, but I just did it anyways. And that attitude of like, I just did it anyways, and I'm gonna do it again next week. Like,
you know why?
That
I grew a set of balls.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
She grew a set.
You didn't let that one thing that was like a fear, is a perceived failure, eclipse like all of the success and all of the hard work that you have been seeing, like, and all the stuff you have been seeing come from it. But at the beginning of the year, you would have let something like that derail the success you had been seeing. And so I think that's a huge way that you have grown.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's a really good thing for anyone listening. Like, you might have not even realized that shift within yourself, but when you really look back at how you would perceive an action towards yourself or an outcome at the beginning of the year versus how you perceive it now, it most likely is different.
Yeah, and that is a huge one. And I mean, it's not to say like this is something I'm still like strengthening and working with and getting better at. But yeah, just noticing how you have grown. Like I think sometimes when you're like, oh, what's your celebrations? They have to be this big, massive milestones, but it can just be like those ways that you have grown. And maybe asking someone that you are close to, like, what ways have you seen me grow this year? So that you can go on and reflect deeper, because sometimes you do need that little someone mirror back at you so you can be like, oh, wait, yeah, I have, and like do that deeper reflection and celebration with yourself.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times, since we're always with ourselves, we don't see the growth that's occurring within. But when you just reflect back on how you perceived life like 5, 6 months ago, a year ago, to versus how you see things now and how you respond differently, how you like, that is actually where the true magic lies in this human experience, is like being able to just like experience shit and like work through it and become someone different through moving through it. It's like, it's not necessarily about it's incredible when you get to manifest really incredible and amazing opportunities, but the truth of it that makes that so special is the foundation that you've built in yourself. Because like I said, you can have 300 people sitting in a room, but if you haven't built a foundation of seeing that in yourself, it's all just going to be blah, So it's like, what we've built this year are our wings, ladies, so that we can take off and enjoy the flight instead of take off and look at the flight and be like, oh, I think it should be better. Like, it's like we needed to build this foundation for something coming our way. So Maggie, please share, what are your wins, darling?
I want to say your win, because I have it on my mind. What I think you've grown.
Okay, go ahead.
I think that you've grown a lot with like, I know that you've struggled a lot in the past with like, perceptions of your own body and like body image and stuff like that. And I think you've moved through a lot of health stuff this year that could have been really, really triggering for you. Like, I know like with your health stuff, you've experienced even like stuff like hair loss and stuff like that, which can be really hard on one's own like vanity, which I think we all have certain aspects of, right? It's like we want to look good. And I feel like that could have, I mean, you said like you've experienced really low lows this year, but I feel like that could have derailed you so much more than it has. And I think it's shown like how much self-compassion and self-love and like how much you've grown within like loving yourself unconditionally as well, and like accepting yourself as you are, even through like sickness. Like we say in, I don't know, like with marriage vows and stuff, they say like in sickness and in health, but I think like we can be really hard with that on ourselves as well. Like we kind of want to like give up on ourselves during sickness. And I think you've like really persevered and been really strong through that. And I think it's helped you fly as well.
I love that. Thank you
What
for
I want to
recognizing
celebrate,
that.
what I want to celebrate about you is, I mean, we've kind of spoken about it and you've kind of spoken about it, is the healing and yeah, the healing and the manifestation that you've done through your heart and through your relationship with your partner. Like it's just, for me, it's just been so beautiful to witness because it's something that I aspire to do for myself. And just to watch you really like grow a set of balls. I'm just gonna keep using
Her
that.
favorite quote
Yeah.
now.
I can just
To
imagine
like take
everyone.
a shot every time.
Yeah, I can just
Sylvie said
imagine
You know, it's like,
everyone laughing.
I know we think that it's okay, but I think like for some reason saying that these days is not. I don't know why.
No, I think it's fine. I think it's just like it can be anyone.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, we'll just keep saying it. Someone correct us. We don't mean this in a harmful way.
yeah, and celebrating the way that you have really leaned into your heart and really went deep into those emotions and opened it up and cracked it open so that you can like welcome in that deep, deep love from a partner that unconditionally accepts and loves and supports who you truly are and the journey that you're on and the work that you do. It's just honestly so beautiful to like witness and to be a part of in a way, because yeah, like I've never really fully experienced or seen a healthy relationship, and so yeah, like I'm celebrating healing that you've done to attract this healthy relationship.
Karlie's in her love era, her unconditional love era
I'm
this
in my
year.
unconditional love era. It's so true. And I was just talking to the girlies about this, but like the program that I created is all around learning how to be an unconditional union kind of with yourself, despite all of the contrast that happens in life. And that's how we connect back home to the like magic and euphoria of our heart and spirit and unity of the universe. And so I really appreciate you guys being here for me through it all. And that really warmed my heart. So thanks. Thank you guys. Love you all. And if you're listening to this, please, please, please share with us some of your wins as you're tuning in and you're maybe starting to notice, oh, wow, like I have grown in ways that I haven't allowed myself to recognize up until this point. Share them with us if you're open to it and let us celebrate you as well. So Maggie, let's finish off with your shares.
I think that I'm like better at speaking my mind and setting boundaries a little bit more. Like that was at least at the beginning half of the year, like I had to like set boundaries and like stand up for myself in some pretty like intense ways, and maybe in ways that like aren't super normal, but like I basically just had to be like, you know what, this is what I have to do so that like my energy comes first. And like it's not easy to do because at first it feels really uncomfortable because it's not what we're told we should do. And I think that was something I really had to sort of grow into, is just being like, yeah, there's been times in my life, I think I've had this, it's a kind of like a cyclical pattern of growing, but like standing up for myself in different ways and being like, I'm not just a doormat. Like you can't do that. So that's, I think, a way that I have grown. I think I've just grown a lot just through, like, we were kind of saying this, I don't know, in this episode or another, but like just in perseverance. Like I'm excited to see some, like how I grow even more from this, because sometimes I just get in the mindset of like, you did that, like So for example, years and years ago, I wrote my master's when I had secretly had carbon monoxide poisoning and I didn't know. And I just always tell myself, like, you wrote a master's when you were literally poisoned. Like, you can do anything. And so I feel like, I can, even when I'm facing fear and struggling, I'll be like, you were literally deported. Like, you can do anything. So I feel like it's just allowed me to see that, like, I can persevere through things. And I think, like, it can sometimes also help me grow by putting other things in perspective. Like, I had to go through a lot of those things. So, like, sticking to an Instagram schedule really shouldn't be that hard for me because I've done much more difficult things. Like, I think when you have growth through perseverance, it shows you, like, like how overwhelming other things really should feel. And it kind of allows me to be like, you can just do it.
I feel like it puts things into perspective, right?
I think so. And not saying that, like, if you're struggling with, something like that, that it's not difficult and, like, you shouldn't feel like it's difficult or whatever. But I do think that for me, it kind of put into perspective of, like, okay, you can do these things now. Like, there's not the same things holding you back that there was before. So, like, you can do these things now. So I think that's maybe something as well. And so, yeah, I think I would say probably that, because I feel like, yeah, I feel like I also have done, like, some other things that are just out of my comfort zone, like doing my first market and things like that. And
I was gonna say that. I was like, girl, you better celebrate yourself for that. And, like, for freaking, like, all the things that you did despite having, like, not being able to make money in your business. You like, and
I, like, still was posting. I was still, like, creating YouTube stuff, even though I wasn't allowed to make money. And yeah, I think another thing I think I could celebrate too is, like, I lost it mid-year a little bit, but even, like, at the beginning of the year I was doing it a lot, and now I've picked it up a lot, is, like, I'm writing a tarot book. And so I think something like that is really cool. Like, it's showing my creative side. It's showing my, like, writer side. Sophie always says, like, that I need to write a book about, like, my travels and stuff. And I also think I've grown in ways where I really do think that for a long time, I think I hid behind my knowledge because, like, I know I'm very knowledgeable and I know I have, like, a lot to give in that way. And not saying I'm not giving education content and, like, stuff like that anymore, but I think I always felt like I had to prove myself in my field. Like, I had to prove myself through being like, yes, I have so much knowledge. And it's something that I was often praised on by, like, clients, by my community. It's like, oh, Maggie knows so much, which I think I do. And it's not to, like, put that down, but I think I've grown by also, I think, especially more recently, like, allowing my personality to shine a little bit more as well. Like, allowing me to be like, yeah, I'm just being silly. I'm being a little goofy. Like, I'm allowing just, like, me, because I think my personality is, like, something
that's fun about what me. This space has been really good for us all, because we're all really goofy and silly and just allowing us to sprinkle that in.
And I think that's what I'm, like, trying to embrace even more. Like, I even was just recording something that's going up. It'll be live by the time this comes out, but it was, like, my deep dive into witchcraft. And I was trying to film it. I wanted to say, like, double toil and trouble at the beginning. And for some reason, my brain just couldn't comprehend. And I had, like, not even lying, like, 7 bloopers of me just saying toil instead of double toil and trouble. And I was, like, howling at myself, and I'm ready to, like, cut it all out. And then I was like, I'm just going to do a little blooper reel because I'm losing my mind. And I was, like, giggling at myself, and I just kept saying the same thing. And then I put it on my stories as just, like, a little joke. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't stop laughing at myself. And people were, like, laughing so hard. Like, I got so many people messaging me and liking it because, and that was, one of those things, a reflection back on me where I was like, yeah, just growing and flying, like, through just being me and, like, my goofy little personality and, like, fun lore about myself. That's just, I think that's part of it too. I think I lost the plot on what I was saying, but
that's okay.
I've grown.
I've grown. I feel like what I feel, I mean, all of that, I definitely 100%, I'm like, damn, this girl has been through it and she has persevered for sure. But I think something that I am so proud of you for is, like, not that you have to, like, get over this quick or anything, but you truly, like, kind of I mean, the universe forced you to surrender, but like I feel like you really allowed yourself in a lot of ways, even though of course there was like grief and stuff around leaving Denmark and all of that, but like you truly surrendered to what the universe had in store for you. And I think a lot of people would hold so much resentment like for maybe years and just being like, oh, I shouldn't be in Canada. Like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be back now. But like, I feel like you allowed yourself to move through this and take it as it came to you and not hold such a grudge and so much resentment. Of course, there was like that grieving period. Of course, there's times where it comes up again and you're like, wow, I really missed that. But I feel like just the fact that you allowed yourself to move through that and surrender through that was like, it just taught you like a whole nother trust within the universe. And I feel like you're coming back home to your trust in the universe again after like a year of things being rocky and like a bit, you know, shaky. It's like you're rebuilding that magic, that trust. And the fact that I don't think it was in this episode, we just recorded another one, but you shared how you were in a moment of like that euphoric feeling of unconditional love. That is unity. You reunited with like your spirit in the universe and the remembrance of it all in that moment. And it's like the fact that you had that moment is a sign that you've opened yourself up again. And I think this is just the start of your wings like fully activating. And I'm so excited to see where this upcoming year brings you.
I'm excited too. Thank you.
I get all like shy. You're like, oh,
oh no, I have to hide.
Like show and tell or something.
Well, I want to celebrate. Yeah, like I feel like the biggest thing is the word strength just kept on coming through, like just like your strength to have to leave Denmark when you really didn't fucking want to, the strength to like trust that it was all going to like work out, the strength to like put your business on hold, but still like show up in the ways that you had the capacity to, and the strength to like trust like your community are still waiting for you. They're still here. They're not going anywhere. And your strength to be like, okay, let's get back into things. And let's like, even if it takes a bit of time and a bit of perseverance, a bit of like discipline, like I have the strength to like come back to it all, you know, come back to myself, come back to the purpose, the path, the purpose, the path, the work that I'm here to give.
I love you. I'm like, I can't say too much. I'm like, I love you guys, but don't make me cry. I'm like, don't cry. Don't cry.
What do you mean you can't say too much?
Please, let's all cry.
Because if I say too much, I'll just start crying.
It's been a wild year, and I think we've truly all grown closer to ourselves in connection to, you know, our spirits and the universe. And I think we've all definitely had to, I feel like we've all just like leaned into more surrender and just like recognizing that even in the hardest moments, things are happening just as they should be. And when there is the death or the ending of one thing, there is a beautiful beginning and rebirth of something else. And yeah, I'm just so grateful to be in this ride with you all. And yes, please, please, please go ahead and share your wins and celebrations with us over on theritual.co, and we'll be sure to message back and celebrate with you. We're sending you also so much love. If you have any questions for us, whether that be, you know, around spirituality, processing energy, emotions, astrology, whatever it is, you can go ahead and email us with the Divine Gossip Girls email below. We're going to be doing more hotline kind of Q&A episodes where we answer your questions. It can literally be around anything. We're pretty open to it. So if you've got a question, message us and we're happy to answer. But we love you all, and we're all so, so proud of you guys. If you're tuning into this episode, you clearly are someone that is along for the ride with themselves, and as a result we're all growing, whether or not we realize it or are intentional about it. We all are. So proud of you, and we will chat with you all in our next episode. Bye.
Bye.